Hi guys, on this installment of PJ Cooks Sexy Food, I'm going to show you how to make salmon 4 distinctive ways using the same base ingredients. So let's get started. So these are our 4 boneless, skinless salmon fillets that I have here. They're absolutely beautiful, and we're going to make these in 4 distinctive ways using the same base ingredients. So let's get started. So the ingredients that we're going to use today to make our pieces of salmon 4 different ways. We're going to have some cream cheese, some melted butter, panko breadcrumb. We have some pesto. I'm using a basil pesto, but you could use any type of pesto you like. Some salt, some pepper, some very thinly sliced potatoes. We have a sheet of puff pastry, as well as a sheet of parchment paper. So let's get started with that first preparation method. To begin, we're going to take all 4 pieces of salmon, and we're just going to give them a good shot of kosher salt on both sides, as well as some pepper. That's going to season up all 4 at once. We're not doing anything different in this respects. All 4 are getting the same treatment. So I'm going to start with the roasted salmon. I'm going to take one of our fillets, put it right in the middle of a pan that I just have lined with a little bit of parchment paper. I'm going to take some of our pesto that we have. Just going to smear that right over the top. Just like that. Nothing crazy. Just a little bit of basil pesto. That's all you need. Just like that. We got a nice coating of pesto on the fish. Now let's take our panko breadcrumbs. We're going to sprinkle the panko right over the pesto. What that's going to do is that's going to give the fish a really nice crunch on top with that flavor baking underneath it, and that's just going to permeate right into the fish. Okay, that is almost good to go. Okay, the only thing I'm going to do now, which I didn't say earlier, I'm just going to take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to drizzle that right over the top. Okay, now I'm going to take this one, I'm going to set this aside while we get ready on our second piece of salmon. For our second piece of salmon, I went ahead and I rolled out our sheet of puff pastry. I'm going to put our piece of salmon right in the middle. I'm going to take some of that cream cheese that we have, and I'm just going to put that right on top. Just breaking up a few pieces. You don't have to make it crazy, because what this is going to do, when this melts with the pesto that's going to go on top of this, it's going to create almost like a basil cream sauce that's going to be in with the salmon. Now, just put a couple of dollops of our pesto on top of that. Wash our hands off. And now we will wrap up the pastry. Now everybody has different ways of doing it. I personally like to do the fold. What I'm doing is I'm going to take it from here. You got to work quick because puff pastry can get a little bit soft as it sits out at room temperature. Now I'm going to take it from the other side, fold it right over again. Carefully peeling the paper off. We don't want to tear the pastry. Okay, now what I want to do with these edges, I just want to fold once and fold twice. And we're basically sealing the salmon in the pastry. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just going to lay it out. I'm going to roll it once and then twice. Take the edge, fold it over, take the edge, fold it over, give it a little pat, make sure it's nice and tight, flip it over. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to put this on another baking sheet that I have here lined with a piece of parchment paper. I'm going to lay out the salmon. Now, if you want to be fancy with this, you could put some ornate slits on top. You can do a lot of different things to it. Right now, it's just, as you can see, it got very sticky very quick. So I'm going to pop this into the refrigerator until we're ready to bake it off. Okay, for the next preparation, I'm going to take our potatoes that we have very thinly sliced, and I left them with the skins on because I like the little bit of a rustic flavor. I like the crunch that the skins give. Some people don't like the skins, they take them off. That's okay, it's a matter of personal preference. But I'm just laying out our potatoes. I'm shingling them over so one overlaps the next. If their slices are a little too thick, you can take them out. Okay, so our potatoes are laid out nicely, just like that. Next thing I want to do is I want to take my piece of salmon, lay that right in the middle. Take a tiny pinch of salt, just to season the potatoes. I'm not going to put pepper because the pepper's already on the fish. I just want to season the potatoes with a little bit of salt. Going to take a bit of that pesto, smear that right on top of the fish. Now, using the parchment paper, I'm going to roll this up, and I'm going to put the piece this way. I'm going to roll it over, so that this way the potatoes create almost like a scale on the fish. It's going to be just like this. And if they pop out, you could always just tuck them back over. Once you have it rolled one way, roll it back over the other way. And I transferred it over neatly to a piece of parchment paper. I rearranged some of the potatoes to make it pretty. Now I'm just brushing the entire top of this with butter, with melted butter. And that's going to make these potatoes get really nice and golden crisp. It's going to, flavor's just going to saturate all through that. So that is our third preparation for our salmon. Now we come to the fourth preparation. This is salmon en papillote, salmon in paper. Now you can put a bed of spinach, you can put any type of vegetables that you want underneath your fish. I'm just doing it clean, just a straight piece of fish today. I'm going to cover that with our pesto. I'm going to give that a little smear all over the top, just like we've been doing. Every piece of fish has gotten the pesto. That's our signature that's going with our salmon today. Just a little butter over the top. Just like that. And now we're going to turn this into a little packet. So I'm going to bring the two edges up to the middle, like this. Then I'm going to create a fold. And I'm going to fold it again. I'm going to be folding it over onto itself. Now that I have it folded, I'm going to take the edges, fold one over, and tuck it under. Just like this. Fold it over, then I'm going to tuck it under. Now I'm going to take this piece of salmon, and I'm going to put it on a pan lined with parchment paper. So now we have 4 distinctive methods of preparing this salmon. En papillote, en croûte, en pomme de terre, and just pan roasted. So what I do now is I have my oven heating up to 400 degrees, and we're going to pop all 4 pans in the oven at the same time. So our salmon was roasting in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. I did take the one on with the potatoes and I did pop it in the broiler just to get it crispy, but you can see how beautiful all 4 pieces came out. Now with the same base ingredient, we did 4 distinct salmon dishes. You have the roasted salmon with the pesto and crumbs on top. You got the salmon wrapped in potatoes with the pesto underneath. You got the salmon en croûte with the pesto and the cream cheese to give it a little creamy sauce. And then you have the salmon en papillote, which is just basically poached in its own goodness with the pesto on top. So I hope you enjoyed these recipes. I hope you try them at home. And thank you for tuning in to PJ Cooks Sexy Food. We'll see you next time.